Hey, what is up, you beautiful badasses? Wacky Weirdo here, giving you my final thoughts on that amazing Season 7 premiere that AMC gave us. Now, I've watched the episode 3 more times since it aired on Sunday, and man, it does not get any easier to watch. This episode was fantastic, but just so emotional from start to finish. I mean, the acting was phenomenal, the cinematography was fantastic, and the episode just hits you right in the feels. Like, it is so heart-wrenching. It squeezes every emotion that you have in your body out to the point where you get emotional allergies and your eyes start watering uncontrollably, and they don't make EpiPens for that shit. Because you're not only witnessing two of your favorite characters get their heads brutally bashed in by a barbed wire baseball bat, but you're also witnessing Negan brutally break Rick. And you're also witnessing all the emotions, all the fear, all the tears in the eyes of everybody else in the lineup. And man, it just gets to you. Now, the person who had the best performance other than Jeffrey Dean Morgan has to be motherfucking Andrew Lincoln. That scene where Negan was forcing Rick to chop off his kid's arm, and then Rick started crying out of control to the point where he had snot bubbles popping out of his nose. Man, that was way harder to watch than seeing Glenn and Abe get their heads bashed in. Like, I felt so bad for Rick at that moment, and I don't know what type of dark places Andrew Lincoln went to in his head to be able to get those tears flowing to the point where his nose started squirting out snot. But man, he deserves an award for that. That is an Emmy-worthy snot bubble for sure. Not only Andrew Lincoln gave a good, emotionally charged performance, but also Maggie. Like, Maggie was just completely destroyed after Glenn was beat. I mean, you could see the terror on her face, the tears. Man, just the acting in this episode was definitely some of the best. Not a lot of dialogue from many of the characters, but man, just the physicality of the whole episode, just really fucks with you emotionally. Now, something else I want to talk about is the intro for Jeffrey Dean Morgan. You see part of Lucille, and then you see the fire pit with the infamous iron that Negan used to burn Dwight's face with. And I have a feeling in episode 3, which is called The Cell, it's going to be mainly focused on the sanctuary. We're going to witness Negan burn somebody else's face with that iron. Because I have a feeling, even though I don't want it to happen, Daryl is going to take CARL's storyline from issue 105. In issue 105, Negan shows Carl around the sanctuary. Carl witnesses him burn somebody's face, and Negan also makes him sing a song while he's swinging around Lucille, and it's hilarious. I think they're giving that to Daryl. Now, if Negan gets Daryl to sing "You Are My Sunshine," it'll be worth it. Like, that would just be so hilarious to have Daryl singing "You Are My Sunshine" while Negan's just in the background swinging around Lucille. That would make up for Carl not receiving that storyline. But if that doesn't happen, they better still have Negan and Carl's storyline from issue 105 coming in a future episode. Something else I want to talk about is the dinner table scene that a lot of people say they really didn't like. They really felt like it didn't fit in the episode, but I feel like it did, because the whole point of this episode is to make you emotional from start to finish. They don't want you to stop crying, to stop feeling sad until those credits roll. And that's what they did with this scene. I mean, you hear Negan's dialogue where he's saying, I bet you thought you were gonna grow old with them sitting at the dinner table on a Sunday. That doesn't happen anymore. And then it just jumps to the scene of the camera panning through the dinner table. And at the end you see Abraham and Glenn socializing. Then you see Glenn and Maggie's kid in Glenn's lap. And then next to Abraham you got Sasha, and it looks like she's got a little baby bump because Abraham done poured the Bisquick. And the Bisquick is currently cooking a pancake inside of Sasha's belly. Man, that table scene like really just hit me in the feels. Almost as hard as watching Glenn die, Abe die, and watching Rick cry uncontrollably. Like, it's just so sad just knowing that this is never gonna happen. And even if it were to happen, Glenn and Abe would not be a part of it. So I think the table scene was perfect, dude. I think it fit in this episode perfectly. Like when you had Maggie standing between the two blood stains with the brains mixed in, and you had the Negan dialogue, and then it switches to the table. Ah, man, I just thought that flowed so perfectly together. So I don't hate it whatsoever. And then next I want to talk about how gruesome this fucking episode was. Like, holy shit, dude. You had two people get their heads bashed the fuck in. I mean, left hand corner, you got poor Abraham's head. I mean, look at that shit. I managed to nab a little screenshot in the daylight. As you can see, the top of Abe's skull is caved in. His fucking brains splattered everywhere. Oh, it's so gross. Then over here we got poor Glenn, top of his head caved in, eyeball bulging out, blood pouring everywhere. And then you got Glenn's poor body that was twitching after Negan was done beating him. And then after Negan says she's a vampire bat and starts walking away, you see a part of Glenn's scalp stuck to Lucille with some hairs hanging off of it. Like, man. I know a lot of people were complaining about how gruesome this episode was, but it had to be, dude. The comic, fucking super gruesome. So they had to imitate that on TV, or else they were going to piss off a shit ton of comic fans. And also, I don't really think if they didn't show the gruesomeness of the kills, would it have been as effective? Because if you just show them, hit them, and then all you're doing is just seeing Negan just swing and swing and swing, and then you never really see the brutality, I don't really think it would have had much of an effect on everybody. Everybody would have just been like, oh, they're dead. We didn't get to see it, but they're dead. So it had to be uber violent, because it really just took an emotional toll on everybody witnessing that violence. So I don't have a problem with it. It was sad to watch, though. Now, something else I want to talk about is the fact that Maggie, man, poor Maggie. It's like everybody close to her dies. I mean, her family at the farm, season 4, her dad gets his head chopped off. Season 5, her sister Beth gets her brains blowed out. And then season 7, her husband gets his fucking head caved in completely. There's nothing left of his face. She can't even go up to his body and, like, kiss him on the cheek, kiss him goodbye, because there's nothing left. And now she might even have a miscarriage and lose their baby. So she's just had so much loss, man, and I feel so fucking bad for Maggie, like, seriously. And to top it all off, the same with Sasha. Sasha's just lost so much. She lost her first apocalyptic love, Bob, and she lost her brother, and then she lost the man that she was planning on starting a family with. And Abraham lost his head, Tyrese lost his arm, Bob lost his leg. Man, poor Sasha and Maggie, man. I can see why they're both going to the hilltop together, because, you know, it's both of their men that were just murdered, and they just want to get away from it all. They just want to be somewhere somewhat safe, because they know that Negan is going to Alexandria in a week, because he even says he's going to Alexandria in a week for the first pickup. And I just don't think Maggie or Sasha want to be there when it happens, because they'd probably attempt to kill Negan and then end up getting themselves killed or somebody else, so they just don't want to risk that. But yeah, man, this episode was brutal, heartbreaking. The acting was phenomenal. Cinematography was phenomenal. Although I do have a slight problem with the way they filmed Abe's death, because, you know, when Negan comes down the first time, it's awesome. You see him drop. But then they keep the camera right there on Abe the whole time when he gets up. And then you hear Negan out of camera say, "Oh, he's taking it like a champ." I wish they would have panned the camera behind Abe so you could see Negan's expression when he's saying, "Oh, taking it like a champ," like they did in the leaked I can't even fucking say her fucking name, Maggie footage. I don't know if you guys watched the leaked Maggie footage or not, but you should now, because you've already seen the season 7 premiere, so it's not like it's spoiling anything. But when Negan says they're taking it like a champ, the camera pans behind Maggie, and you get to see the expression on Negan's face, and I just love that. And we didn't get to see that in the premiere because the camera stayed on Abe the whole time. So other than that, the rest of the episode was filmed perfectly, but it was just that one instance with Abe's death that I think could have used a few more camera angles. But yeah, I give this episode 10 out of 10. Definitely my favorite premiere out of all 7 seasons, and man, it's got me really hyped for what's to come in the next 15 episodes. I'm not as excited for the next episode as I am for episode 3, because episode 3 is going to focus on the sanctuary, so we're going to get to see what happens with Daryl. We're going to get to see Negan again. We're going to get to see some cool shit. But episode 2 is going to focus on Carol, Morgan at the Kingdom. I know we're going to see King Ezekiel and the Tiger. I'm excited for the Tiger, Shiva. I'm excited for Ezekiel, but I just don't think the episode's going to be as interesting as the Sanctuary episode is going to be. And I have a feeling that no episode this season is going to be as great as the premiere. It's really going to be hard to beat this episode. But anyways, those are just my final thoughts. What do you guys think? What'd you like about the episode? What'd you dislike? Leave your comments below, and we gonna talk about that shit some more. Anyways, it's like 3 in the morning, so I gotta go. Bye bye. God, I am such a weirdo. I chose the perfect YouTube name. Oh yeah, and Glenn's dead body. You know what it reminds me of? This right here. The bloody mess perk from Fallout. Negan definitely had the bloody mess perk on when he beat the hell out of Glenn and Abe. Most definitely.